Welcome, everyone, to the Tufts Research and Data Symposium for Food and Nutrition. We're very happy to welcome you to the workshop on the installation of R and RStudio software with Kyle Monahan. Before we get started, I just want everyone to know that this session is going to be recorded. You're welcome to keep your cameras on throughout the session, but please mute your microphones unless kind of prompted to speak during either question or answers, or if Kyle opens up the floor for questions. I might also suggest using the speaker view, which will be following Kyle and his screen so that you can watch the installation process. And we'll be fielding questions routinely throughout the session, so please do use the chat function at any point in time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle Monahan, who's our presenter today. And Kyle's going to introduce himself and then walk through this R installation process. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Kyle.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. My name's Kyle Monahan. I'm a senior data science specialist in research technology in TTS. So we're the same people that might fix your computer if you had a question, but I work in research technology. So I support students, staff, and faculty in research. I've been using R for, I guess, about a decade now. It feels weird to say that. And I really love the software. So I'm going to share my screen now. And so we have a set of instructions in the Data Lab website, and I'll put that link in the chat just so you can see that. I'll continue to put it in the chat in case new people come in as well. But this link teaches you how to install R and RStudio. We'll talk a little more about why you need both R and RStudio, but this is a platform for you to be able to use the statistical programming language R and the integrated development environment, RStudio. In practice, I like to think of this as, the kernel or the thing that you need to run the code, which is R, and RStudio, the program, right? So we need to install both. And there are instructions available here for you to be able to do that. So if you scroll down here, there's Windows instructions. So if you're on a Windows machine, you can access those. And there's Mac OS instructions. Now, as you can see, the Mac OS instructions are a little bit more complex. So I have a Mac here, and I'm going to go through the process step by step, very slowly on a Mac. If you have any questions throughout the process, you're welcome to just ask me. So you can just go to the chat. You'll see that at the lower section of your screen. You can click on chat. You can just chat to everyone, or you can click on me and you can chat me directly. If you want to, privately chat me, that's fine. And again, this is the link just in case anyone new came in. But what we're going to start for Mac OS users, and I'll get to Windows afterwards, but for Mac OS users, the first thing we have to do is install Xcode command line tools. Pro tip, this might take a little bit. So, you might want to start doing it now. This is why I start with Mac. And what this is a set of command line tools that your computer needs to be able to build software. So it's the same thing that like Apple developers might use to write some code. And we're going to install that today. So what we have to do is launch terminal. Now there are a few ways to do this. The way that always works is to go to your Spotlight search or use command and space, and then type terminal. And you'll see that there's a terminal.app. If you're feeling crazy and you want another approach, you can right-click on Finder, open a new Finder window, except that my Finder is busy right now. Let me open it again. Open a new Finder window. And you can go to Applications. Under Applications, you'll see a application under Utilities called really all the way down, terminal. You can see why I search for it. I don't like looking under applications. That's very annoying to me. I much prefer to use the Spotlight search at the top and just look for terminal.app. It's the terminal app. So here is what appears. Looks a little frightening at first, right? This black box appears with some text information in it, like the date and some things like this. this is actually what computers were originally. So back a really long time ago, well, not so long ago, computers looked exactly like this. My first experience was with an MS-DOS computer, and so it looked very much like this. I also had an Apple Lisa, which was very, very similar to this. So this is the terminal. All we're going to do is write this one line of code, xcode dash select slash slash inst or dash dash install. So we can actually just copy it right from here. We can copy it. We can right click, copy. We're going to go back to terminal and we're going to paste this in. And so you can see it says xcode dash select dash dash two dashes install. And I can put that in the chat in case you don't want to copy and paste. And what this is going to do is install xcode select. Now for me, the command line tools are already installed. For you, a pop-up will appear and it will say, would you like to install Xcode command line tools? You just have to click OK. So once you do that, they will install. It takes about 15 minutes or so at maximum, and it uses about 300 megabytes of space. So it's not too much in terms of space. If you get an error message stating that the command line tools are already installed, like me, you can continue on. Otherwise, you just want to click install. You'll have to agree to this terms of service, and then it will take a couple minutes to install. Once this is done, what you can do is install the latest version of R. So if you click on this link here that says latest version of R, you can get an immediate download of R. Another thing you can do is, so you can just click on that and it will download the latest version. By default, it goes into your downloads directory. So you can see here, if I go to downloads on my Mac, just have to move the chat window so I can actually click on it. I can see here we have this package file. If you haven't installed the package file before, you can double click on the package file and it will install the package for you. So you just go through the process. So I've double clicked on this R package. I can click continue, 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 agree to the terms and conditions. It's the same process that we might have done installing any other program, and click install. You may get a security pop-up. You might not be able to see my security pop-up. It's just asking for my password. So you'll want to put in your password and then continue to install the software. I'm going to pause now I'll actually put in my password so we can do this. And I'll pause now to see if anyone has any questions at this point. Any questions so far on installing R? So like I said at the start, there's two components we're installing here. One is R, and the other is RStudio. I like to think about it like an engine in a car. When we work with a car, we need both an engine and the dashboard, right? And the dashboard is RStudio, the interface to R. We have right now just installed an engine. We have the engine somewhere on our computer, but it's really challenging to find where this is, and we'd have to use the command line. It's just not useful. So what we'd like to do is install the dashboard, the way that makes it easier to use. So the next step is to install RStudio. So you can download and run the RStudio installer. You can just click on this. It will navigate to here, and it'll give you this download RStudio for Mac. You can click on download. I will need to allow this download, and it will allow me to download this package file. So again, a lot of times in Mac OS, we're always allowing things, putting in our password, right? Apple likes to try to protect us where possible. So you can see it's downloading this DMG file, similar to the PKG file. Oh, great question, Shamis Abibe Tenengen. That's a great question. Is it possible to install in Ubuntu? Yes. So if you want to install in Ubuntu, the process would be, it's a little more challenging. It depends on what version of Ubuntu you're on. Perhaps we could meet afterwards, but the first thing I would do is the same process. So you'd want to R installer Ubuntu. I think they have it as a flat pack for Ubuntu, but you can this walkthrough is actually especially good. I followed this myself, and I'll just put it in the chat. I would suggest you follow these steps. If you have used the terminal in Ubuntu before, it'll be something like this. But we can walk through that together if you run into any issues. I am an Ubuntu user as well. All right, so let me quickly go back to our instructions here, except I totally navigated away from the screen. Here we go. So before we were installing and downloaded RStudio. So I'll just go to my downloads here, just like we did before. Double click on the DMG file. DMGs are very similar to PKG files. They actually are images of the package. And so all I have to do is drag over rstudio.app to applications, drop it in. It will copy it there. It may prompt, like mine did, to ask for permission to copy that to the applications folder. If you do, you'll just want to put in your password. You'll also want to put in your correct password, unlike me, who just made a typo. And then it will copy over RStudio into your folder here for all of your applications. Slowly but surely, there it is, it's done. So now I'm able to just go into the same Spotlight and look up rstudio.app. I do have a couple RStudio instances on my computer, but yours will just be rstudio.app. You can see it right here. To double click on it, and it will open up for the first time your RStudio instance on Mac OS. Now, I'm not sure if you can you see this rstudio.app downloaded from the internet? Great. Yeah. So this is, if you're on, for example, the new version of Mac OS, there are security things where you have to actually click open, right? So you have to confirm to Mac OS that you do in fact want to do this, that it's not malware. I can promise you RStudio is not malware, so you can click open. I really trust RStudio. It's open source. It's a great software company, and I've been using them for years. So now, once you click open, you may also have to click allow depending on your security settings and put in your passcode. But once you do, you'll be greeted with this, which is the interface to RStudio. So this is the process for installing RStudio on a Mac. Are there any questions on how we went through this process? I'll take a small pause so we can ask any questions we might have. You're welcome to either unmute or just chat me at any point if you have questions. I feel like the chat can be nicer. So what I'll do next is I'll go back here, and I just want to show you the process for Windows. So it's very similar on Windows. I'm just going to copy my URL here, and then slide over to my Windows machine. If I can actually do the copy. There we go. Now I'm on Windows. Hello, Windows. So if you're here on Windows, this is hopefully what your interface looks like. I'm actually on a virtual machine, but that's beyond the point. The internet's a little bit slow here, so I'm just going to hope that this appears. Awkward. Little waiting needs to be done. That's okay. Still some waiting. I'll try Edge. Oh, that's faster. What a surprise. All right. So I'm just opening up the same link that I was on before, because these are actually auto downloadable. So if I click on latest version of R, it will take me to this Windows location, Windows base release. Oh, and it's asking me if I want to download it, and I can say, yes, I do want to save it. I can just click save. It'll bring it into my, my downloads folder. I can also just click run. Now, in my case, I don't actually, well, I can just run it. It's okay. Won't harm anything. I can go to next. So just the same as before, we're clicking through this installation. If you're really into reading the terms and conditions, you certainly could go back and scroll through those entire terms and conditions. That's up to you. Um, you can just leave all of these as defaults and just keep clicking next. Um, you could customize a startup, but there's no real need to. The defaults are fine. You can click next. You can also, so that gives you a couple options about creating a desktop shortcut, creating a quick launch shortcut. You're welcome to change those to your preferred settings. You can also just click next, and then it will install. It'll take a little bit of time. It's installing all the packages and other things that it needs to have a good R installation. And then you can just click finish. And now we've installed R on Windows. We can do the same process for RStudio. Click download and run the RStudio installer. Click on download RStudio for Windows. Right. I'll just move this up slightly so I can see it. Oops. Just make it large so I can actually see the download. There we go. I want to save it. Okay, run just like before. If you don't see a run, you can always double click on the download in your downloads folder. And here we go. Next, next, install, etc. And so you can see we're kind of just clicking next. If you really would like to look through every single screen, you're welcome to take your time and do that. But the defaults for us is how I installed R. So that's how we'll use it today. And so you can see it unpacks a lot of things. Takes some time to install. And then we can click finish. And so here, if I go to the, that's my email. Want to click here. We can go to RStudio. You can see down here by clicking on that search bar, you can also click on the Windows application and search for R. If you go to down here, you just search for RStudio, and you can click on RStudio and see we have a RStudio application ready to go with R and RStudio both installed. So this is how you install RStudio on Windows. We've gone through it on a Mac. For Linux, we also have some instructions here. So if you click here, there are some depending on your Linux version. So here, if you go to this, and I'll put this in the chat again in case you need this direct link. I know we have a few Linux users. That's great to see. You can go to your distribution. So there's Debian, Fedora, Red Hat, SUSE. For our Ubuntu user, as I know we have one, you'll want to click on which version of Ubuntu you have. If it's the most recent, you can probably go with the Xenial, which was updated recently. You can also click on the README and learn a little more about which versions are good for what. And you can download and install the R version for that. So let's say I was on Trusty. I could click here. It's going to give you a lot of choices, right? Because it assumes you want to compile it. For those who are on Linux or Ubuntu in particular, as I know we do have one, we can probably meet separately and make sure this process goes smoothly for you. But in summary, this is the process for installing R and RStudio. I'll kind of now leave it open if you have any questions at all about the process. And again, just feel free to refer to our notes on the link I provided, just to make sure that you have a smooth process while you're installing it. And I will stop talking and allow you to ask me any questions you might have about the process. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that. And for the people who laughed at my jokes, I really appreciate that. So I will mute myself. So, it's a little bit less talking.
Any questions at all? Or is everyone frantically in the process of trying to download R and install it and then cursing behind their screen about it not working, which is okay too.
Oh, great. Thanks for that feedback. Ah, a message unable to locate R binary by scanning standard locations. That commonly happens when you haven't installed R, but you've installed RStudio. So my suggestion would be try to reinstall R. And that's that kind of first step we went through, downloading the R package. Yep.
Perhaps while we wait then, Kyle, for any other questions, you could give a brief overview of maybe what you'll be talking about in a half hour's time when we start at the top of the hour for our next session on comparisons across statistics software.
Sure, yeah. So I think we'll be actually comparing the different reasons why you might want to use programs like R, SAS, SPSS, Stata, MATLAB, and other common programs that you might have seen people use to work with data. It's actually really exciting for me because I work in a lot of these programs with various faculty and students. And so it's really nice to be able to compare across them. So the idea is we go into a little detail about what types of professionals might want to use various software, and then how they would use those software to achieve the goals they want to, and what might be the best tool for a variety of projects. So it should be a fun time. And I look forward to doing it. It's something I always think it's less talked about, right, in my classes and things like that. So it should be fun.
Awesome. We're
I
very
mean,
excited.
maybe I define fun a little little differently than others, but I do enjoy it. So
Yeah, it'll be very, very exciting. And for those who are actually interested in joining the session, I've had a few individuals reach out privately. And so it's just one thing to show on our actual website itself. So if you're able to pop over to our website, it's sites.tufts.edu and /Friedman Research Symposium, all one word. Once we're able to get onto that site, if you actually go into the program, Kyle, as well as Emily, Case, and I, who will also be helping with the later presentation, have provided resources here on the website that actually provides an overview of our presentations and the materials that we plan to use moving forward. And those include some of our helpful resources on, for example, where places you can go to find reputable sources for helping troubleshoot code or troubleshoot any syntax errors you might receive. And this is also where we intend to be uploading the embedded videos of both today's session as well as individually recorded sessions by each of us on our personal sections to help assist you not just now, but also moving forward after the conference ends. So just, again, that's sites.tufts.edu/Friedman Research Symposium. And then if you want to go straight to the program page, you can see /program. And if you'd like more information on any of us, you can highlight over our name for connection to our personal websites, or go to the speakers section, which will provide a mini bio on each of us. So any other questions or concerns that come?
If not, we're probably just going to be hanging around here until 4:45. But yeah, so.
Kyle, I have questions for you. So from your experience, like, since you observe a lot of students who are, in the first stages of putting together a package and learning, and if, for example, they're learning completely from scratch, have absolutely no other experience in coding, what are the most difficult parts? To comprehend, what kind of analogy, what kind of task you would recommend to do just to overcome these first barriers?
yeah, I mean that's a really good question, Dr. Namova. I think the approach I always like to take is thinking through what types of things I would like to do with a script. And I actually start by writing what's called pseudocode. And it's just comments about what my goals are, right? I think conceptualizing what I'm trying to do in R first can be an easy way to get started, since it's so common. And even for me, it's really common to get overwhelmed about all the choices we have and the different programs we can use and the variety of buzzwords that people throw at us, especially around statistics, right? And these concepts are very, very sometimes complicated. But if we write it out in a way that, first I want to bring in my data, then I want to make it look like this, and then I want to do this, right? It can be easier to get started initially. I think in terms of getting started for learning a statistical programming language like R, I mean, certainly you're welcome to use our online tips and tutorials, which are, if I share my screen, they're a part of the Data Lab website, and I can put these in the chat as well. We do have some tutorials and guides. There are other guides online. I know that actually Ryan has collected a lot of these into the tips that you'll get when you download that file that he was talking about. So, a lot of these are integrated there. But we have a lot of a workshop in Intro to R. There'll be the Intro R materials you'll go through during this conference, some other cheat sheets, UCLA's excellent website, and things like this. So, you're welcome to go through some of these to get started. But the general thing that I like to think about is just thinking through what I want to do and writing that in R. So even, for example, if I load this R and create a new R script, I can actually just say, and we'll talk about what a comment is, but in this case, it uses a hashtag. And I might say, want to load data, right? And then I also want to visualize a bar graph. And even this step is a good first step towards thinking through what I want to do. And then we can kind of move and learn from there by going to these resources. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, it is a really very good answer. But I remember when we first start to program, our first task was to print "Hello World." Like that was like the first step you do. Hard even to imagine how far it is goes, but I feel it just still remain the first task for many students to try.
Yeah, that is a great task, definitely. I mean, printing, and I use printing every day. I print out everything. I always want to double check everything is what I think it is, right? And so I think the printing is a super important technique for sure.
Okay, well, I think if there are no further questions, then maybe we'll be able to wrap up here. I know it's a little bit early, but we can wrap up here. And what I can do is I can put in the chat real quick the link to what will be our next session. Our next session will be both on the comparisons across statistical software, providing just kind of a basic overview of each of the different platforms. It will then be followed tomorrow from 5 to 7 o'clock with our part 2 session, which walks through everything from loading data to and Stata SAS and R software, which will be done by Case, Emily, and I, along with Kyle's help. So we hope you'll join the next session, which kicks off again at 5 o'clock. And please see our website for more information on the different resources that we'll be presenting on, as well as additional supplemental resources for where to go to find important help when it comes to coding in stat software. So with that, thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you all soon.